if you talk about from linguistic perspective, Tajikistan, Iran, and Afghanistan, you generally refer, if you refer to it simply as Persian, that makes the life easy. Okay. Because it's the same, whether it depends who you are talking to, who is your audience. You can say Persian Renaissance or Tajik Renaissance. If you are talking to Tajik people, it's better to say Tajik Renaissance. And if you are talking to like outside that, even the academic, like in Middle Eastern studies, if you are talking, you would rarely hear somebody referring to as Tajik Renaissance. It's mainly Persian Renaissance that you say, that you talk. So this Persian or Tajik Renaissance, it refers to cultural and linguistic revival of Persian language after Islamic conquest of Persia. The nationalist narrative would be that, well, after the conquest of Persia and the defeat of Sassanids, there was almost 2 centuries or more than that, 2 centuries of silence. It's referred to as Do Karne Sukut. Sukut means silence, Do Karne Sukut, 2 centuries of silence. So, and then after this silence, there was, like people woke up, the Persians woke up from that, like they were so dumbfounded, they were so lost that after two centuries, they have a revival in the greater Khorasan area. So this Renaissance, actually, it is presented in a very nationalistic and sometimes for some people actually even in a jingoistic way. That what was the reason behind that? How did it develop? Why did it happen? So we'll talk about this, that what is that nationalist perspective and how we can look at it alternatively. So let's see about Tajikistan first. The President of Republic of Tajikistan, according to him, he writes that during the Arab invasion, the Arabs did their best to eliminate the language Dari. They destroyed the sacred books of Zoroastrians and put fire on the fire worship places. They killed the Pahlavi language. The Arabs went from house to house, from village to village, and killed the learned Tajik men and established their own religion, Islam. The Arab met strong resistance to their attempts to convert the region's people. In the 9th century, then after that there was the conquest, and then in 9th century, after Do Karne Sukut, 200 years of silence, after a long period of Arabic occupation and the adoption of Islam, Sogdian and Bactrian languages were replaced by the Farsi Tajik Dari language. And this was the period of Renaissance. This is the Renaissance of Persia. Sometimes it is actually referred to as, like, it implies a broader meaning in terms of politics also, because Samanids are generally, many nationalists would mainly, especially would prefer to say that they revived some of the political aspects of the Sassanids. Though if you look at it closely, even the Abbasids had adopted the Sassanid tradition and the system of governance, many aspects of that, and they had adopted actually from the caliphate, the caliphs. So there was some sort of reflection. And this, in Tajikistan especially, nowadays you see that it's almost the same thing happening that had happened in Iran during the Pahlavi period. Like a lot of emphasis on the Aryan connection, linguistic purism. So these are, for example, in Tajikistan you have, like in 2001, the Tajik government declared it as 2,700 years of the Vista. 2003, they petitioned UNESCO to declare the year as the year of Zoroastrianism. And then you have in 2006 the year of the Aryan civilization. This was by the Tajik government. So there is a lot of emphasis on the pre-Islamic connection. And this actually, if anybody knows even a little bit about Pahlavi period in Iran, it reminds that period. This scholar, now he was a politician, a nationalist politician. Now you have, let's see, the scholars. And across the board, whether he is talking about Tajikistan or Iran, the talk is the same. For example, Razi Bashiri, he was writing about Tajikistan and the Samanid period and the Renaissance. Then he says that, and by the way, Razi Bashiri, he teaches in the Department of History at University of Minnesota. In 1996, he was awarded honorary doctorate degree in Tajikistan, and then in 1997 he was given a title of international academician. So he seems to be very popular in the academic circle in Tajikistan nowadays. So he says that the Tahirids were resolved to overthrow the oppressive rule of the Arabs. As an indication of their devotion to gaining Iran's independence, the Tahirids reintroduced the Persian language into Transoxiana and Khorasan and promoted Persian literature and culture. The state, Tahirids, Saffarids, and the Samanids, all the three, repaired the damage that the Arab invaders had inflicted on the finer aspects of the language. That is, language as a means of promotion of literature, arts, and the sciences. The Persian language and the Persian culture also provided the best means for the promotion of an anti-Arab, pro-Iranian ethnic identity. And he's writing about Tajikistan. He was referring to Samanid. So let's see another quotation. He is Shahrukh Meskud. He is considered as one of the most eminent cultural historian of Iran. He says that the dynasties, Tahirids, Saffarids, and Samanids, which were the product of national feeling, served from the very beginning as guardians and transmitters of national identity in the realm of language. After various efforts, Iranians became a nation with a separate identity special to themselves by means of a return to the past, to their own history, and with the establishment of Iranian governments and reliance on the Persian language. So you see that there is a common logic, a linear development in history in which the main historical events they are taking them having the same intention. The people who are involved in that, the same nationalist intention. And the logic would be like there was a flourishing Aryan civilization, like you had Achaemenids and you had Sassanids and all. And then there was a conquest by the Bedouin Arabs, the locust, lizard-eating Arabs, Bedouins, and then the people were so shocked that there was 2 centuries of silence, and then there is a resistance and a struggle to oust the Arabs and gain the national independence. You see, he says that, Razi Bashiri, it's very directly, he says that the Tahirids were resolved to overthrow the oppressive rule of the Arabs. And then further on he talks about the identity and the revival of the language and all. So, according to this nationalist narrative, there are a couple of dynasties and the individual heroes who are considered as the main agents who were working tirelessly to overthrow the rules and regain the Iranian independence. excuse me, I said Indian. So these are like Tahirid, Saffarid, Samanid. We saw all of these here. Then you have Baba Khurramdin, Maziyar, and Afshin. You see here, after various efforts. So he is mainly referring to these individual efforts, mainly Baba Khurramdin. And there were some more individual people who were like actually involved in this sort of this. So now let's see who were they and what were they doing that they are considered as nationalist intention. Is my Indian accent clear enough to understand? Oh.
Seems clear.
Okay, fine, thank you. I generally ask in my class that if you have any difficulty, just ask me to repeat. The founder of Tahirid dynasty was Tahir ibn al-Husayn. Ibn or bin, or only if it is B and dot, it's the same thing, son of. He was actually one of the commanders in Al-Mamun's army when there was a civil war between the two brothers, Al-Mamun and Al-Amin. Then Tahir was on the side of Al-Mamun, and he was actually the main person who defeated the armies of his Al-Mamun's brother Al-Amin. So he is, in reward, he is granted the governorship of the eastern part of the caliphate. So, but when he comes to Marv in 822, then he starts to assert his autonomy. What he does that he drops the name of caliph from the khutbah. He also meets some coins that doesn't bear the name of the caliph. So these were some of the indications that he had some nationalist aspiration. The khutbah, it's the sermon that's before Friday prayer every week, and in that khutbah, the khatib, the person who is delivering that sermon, he is supposed to take the name of or mention the name of the ruler. So mostly it would be the caliph as well as the local ruler. So he drops the name and all. But soon after that he dies, unfortunately or fortunately for the caliphs. But after that his successors, they don't follow the same line. They actually largely they remain very faithful to the caliphs. One thing that is important from the perspective of nationalist narrative of this Persian Renaissance is that this was the first indigenous dynasty. These were not the Arabs. They were very Arabicized, but they were not themselves Arabs. Actually, some of them used to compose poems in Arabic, though they would not say that it's we who composed, because for them it was below their dignity to compose poetry. They were manly, they were warriors, they were supposed to wield the sword, not say the poetry. So, and Tahirids also claim their lineage from Rustam. Rustam, you would be familiar with this name. He was one of the mythological heroes, from Persian mythology. He was the main defender of Iran during the Khanid, this mythological period. So these Tahirids, they claim their lineage from this Rustam. Then we have this second Saffarids. Maybe I'll go faster and I'll keep it open for talking. We can talk more about this. So, second indigenous dynasty was the Saffarids, and they are considered even more nationalist than the Tahirids. Tahirids were actually, they were promoting or they were giving court patronage to the Arabic poets more than the Persians. They were not really interested in Persian. So now we have the Saffarids. The Saffarids, their origin actually, the Yaqub Safar, he was initially a coppersmith. And then finally he joins a group of Ayyaran. Ayyar means, it has many connotations actually. One would be a manly person who is a warrior like knights, which you have in European tradition, something like that. Taking from the rich people and distributing on the poor, like Robin Hood. So, and then there is another connotation also. It may also signify, it may also be, may refer to the bandits, for example, highway bandits. And actually the caliphs, the historians or the people close to the caliphs or who were against these Saffarids, mainly because they were not from some noble dynasties or noble origin. So they would translate Ayyaran as even scoundrel. So it depends, like what we are, from what perspective we are looking at that word. So he joins that group, and let's consider that he was a brave person. He was like Robin Hood of that age, and then finally he becomes governor of Sistan. Actually, this was the person who first becomes governor, and then finally after that, Yaqub bin Safar becomes the governor. Why? There is one more thing that's very, this is the oft-quoted incidents. If you talk about Safarid to an Iranian, and especially the nationalist Iranian or the Tajik, nationalist Tajik, he would definitely going to say that, well, when once somebody, a poet, he recited or he eulogized him in Arabic language, he composed some poem or qasida in Arabic, he said that, why do you compose, why do you say something in Arabic that I don't understand? So this is taken as his national script, that I don't want to hear the Arabic, I just want to hear the Persian. I want to promote Persian as the national language. They also, like Tahirids, they claim their lineage from Anushirwan. Anushirwan was Khosrow Anushirwan. He was one of the Sasanid emperors who ruled from 531 to 571. He is known in Persian tradition as Anushirwan-e-Adil. Anushirwan the Just. He is known for his justice. So now you have the third one, the Samanids. To make it short, it was Ismail bin Ahmad who founded the Samanid state. He was actually the person who united all these small principalities, and he formed a one unified, largely more or less one unified state system or the centralized government. They are well known for giving patronage to scholars and poets and all. Actually, many people refer to Rudaki as father of Persian poetry. He was from their court. Dakhili, who started actually versifying the Shahnama. Shahnama, it may be in prose or poetry, in verse. It's narration of mythological and the historical period of Persia. So it may be from the time of the creation until the time of the advent of Islam. And later on, actually, the tradition of Shahnama continues. Even in 19th century, there is the Qachar king, Fath Ali Shah. He asks one of his poets to compose a Shahnama that praises his dynasty. So this continues, this tradition of Shahnama. The Samanids also links themselves to the pre-Islamic time, like through Bahram Chubin to Manucher, and then the mythological Pishtadi monarch and all. So these are some of the things that that are taken as proof that they were very nationalist. They were promoting the national spirit. Actually, this I guess everybody here we know that this is the statue of Ismail Samanid, who is considered as the first founder of Tajik state. The first state was in 9th century, founded by Samanid, these rulers, especially Ismail Samanid. And then after this more than 1,000 years gap, and then we have another Tajik state now. So, and but unfortunately, most of the cultural places, most of the ports whom the Tajiks claim, they were not from the current boundary of, or political boundary of Tajikistan. So there were some like non-dynastic heroes that I just that referred earlier to, like Babak. He fought against the Arabs in the Azerbaijan region, and finally he was captured after a long time. He really gave very hard time to the Arabs and to the caliphs, and in many ways actually this is the person who can really be credited. In many cases, like I would say that he may be credited as having some sort of nationalist spirit. He never benefited from the caliphs. He was like separately in the mountains. Then you have Mazyar. He was given the rulership of Tabaristan by the caliphs themselves. Finally, there was a dispute on some issues, and then he rebels, and he is also captured and executed. Then you have Afshin. He belongs to the kingdom of, like, actually he was prince of Ushusan. If you see, it was this region. There was some sort of, there was a principality, and they were not Muslim yet. So he had argument or fight over succession after death of his father, and then he kills somebody and then leaves the place and comes to this close to the caliph. He converts, becomes Muslims, and then he has such illustrious career as commander of the caliphate's army or caliphs. Well, finally he is also captured. Not captured, rather he is arrested and thrown into prison to die. Probably he was starved to death. So we'll soon see like what were the connections going on. As of now, from the nationalistic perspective, or from that narrative's point of view, all these were jointly making an effort to overthrow or end the rule of the caliphs on the Iranian or Persian territory. Babak was supposed to revive Zoroastrianism in the form of Khurram Dinar, the religion of happiness, which is translated in many ways. Mazyar and Afshin was supposed to support him in his effort, and he was supposed to give the military support. He was supposed to give the military support, and Afshin was already in the center, caliph there, and he would have some point of time like overthrown the regime, and they would have a coup or these sort of things. So there is a lot of stories around these things. Here we have in Chivan the statue of Babak Khurramdin. He is a national hero of Azerbaijanis. Nowadays, actually, in Iran, the Iranian government would not like to listen about him. So, and the Azerbaijanis, this is the fort in Azerbaijan, Iranian Azerbaijan. They go there once a year, celebrate his birthday, and that has become a symbol for the Azerbaijanis to resist and to demand the cultural freedom from the Iranian government also. And of course, like the government doesn't like that, so they want to keep it as low as possible, but even though people go there. So let's see that really what was happening. Baba Khurramdin, he was defeated by Afshin. It was Afshin who was appointed by the Caliph. He came to Azerbaijan and finally he defeats, captures him, and rather he's not captured. He's betrayed by one of his friends and he's handed over to Afshin. And then Afshin sends him to the Caliph. And there he is killed. And there is a story related to that. It may be true also. There's no reason to doubt about that. That when the caliphs, they killed him very brutally. They cut off his limbs, feet and hands. So he wanted not to let the enemy see his pale face. So he from his own blood, he smears his own blood on his face so that they could not see his pale face. The enemies could not see his pale face. So he was so brave. But we are concerned about the historical developments, who did what, and whether does it corroborate the nationalist claim that they all were working with some specific goal to overthrow or to restore the Iranian or Persian independence. So here we see that Afshin was the person who actually comes and destroys the movement of Baba Khurramdin. Maziar, he rebelled. Actually, it was the issue of tax. The Tahirids, who were actually the governor, who had been given the governorship of the East, they asserted their claim of this governorship and said that, well, Maziar, you will have to route the taxes through us. So, and Maziar was himself very ambitious. He had already strengthened his position in Tabaristan, in that region, in the Caspian region, and then he did not want to give any concession to the Tahirids. So he refused. And he said that, well, I want direct access to the Caliph. This becomes an issue, and finally he rebels against it. The Caliphs asked that, well, you should do that, you should route your tax through Tahirids. He refuses that, and then after that there is a rebellion, and finally he is captured and sent to the Caliph. And there he is also executed actually. What happens that Maziar there confesses that Afshin was in correspondence with him, and he was actually, this can be actually disputed. Many historians will say different things, but this is one version that he said that he was functioning like he was having correspondence with some particular ulterior motives, like overthrowing the caliph or whatever. Then this starts his downfall also here, Afshin's downfall. And he is also arrested, and then the charges that are leveled against him is that he had some inclination towards Zoroastrianism, he had some very decorated Zoroastrian books and all. So it could be simply accusation also. So because what was the reason? Why would you throw him into prison and starve him to death? There must be some reason. So the heresy is the best thing to accuse. And why would Afshin do that? So Afshin had his own political ambition. He wanted to sideline the Tahirids in the East, and he wanted his own governorship. And actually he had already received some areas after he defeated Khurramdin. But he wanted the most lucrative region, that was Khorasan. They also, the dynasties which we have, they also fought each other. Like the Tahirids, their downfall came at the hands of Saffarids, their downfall came at the hands of Samanids, and Samanids were actually overthrown, or they were brought down by the Ghaznavids, their slave commanders. So, and they were also expanding, like in Transoxiana, they were like raiding the Turkish regions, territories, they were expanding the frontier of the Islamic Empire, these sort of things. And even in the newly acquired land, they did not promote Zoroastrianism. There's one dynasty though, which there was no mention here, Buvids. They had some very open inclination towards the pre-Islamic revival. For example, they started Nowruz and these sort of things. But they also did not completely got rid of the caliphs. And that could have been because of some practical reasons. But they were also Shiites. They were promoting like the Shiite ulamas and their writings and the Arabic poetry and these sort of things. So there was something like it was you cannot put them in one category, only in nationalist category or only in the that they were purely researched. In some regions, actually, they are the rulers, the Buyids rulers, especially in Fars, they had considerable population of Zoroastrians, and they showed quite sympathetic. They were very sympathetic to the Zoroastrian population locally. That could be simply because of they were ruling the local Zoroastrians. That could be one reason. Because then other places you have like they are not as sympathetic to them. They are more sympathetic to the Shiites. So this actually raises a question mark on the nationalist narrative of the Persian dynasty, that it happened because of that. These dynasties, they fought, or they had this particular aim or goal to revive the national language only because they had these nationalist aspirations. So there is one question that what about their identity? Did they have any? Were they conscious of having something separate identity from the Arabs? Yes, they did, and it was very manifested in the Shubia controversy. Shubia controversy, like Shubia was a movement that was aimed to end the inequality between the Arabs and the non-Arabs. So Arabs were adopting a lot of discriminatory policies against the non-Arabs. They were called mawalis. They could not intermarry. There were so many restrictions. So this was the Shobia was actually a movement that was aimed at ending this inequality. And in doing so, they did two things. They took support from their glorious past, Persian past, the Sassanids and the Achaemenids and whoever they could find to bolster their support there, to show their superiority over the Arabs before Islam. Because after Islam, mostly they would not argue over that on the issue of Islam itself. So rather they would take support from the Hadith and Quran, that there is no discrimination or there is no superiority of any race in Islam. All the Muslims are equal. So why should it be treated as unequal? So they were taking support from both the Persian tradition, pre-Islamic, and the Islamic. So, and they were also, this was also, Shubia is also considered by many mainly as linguistic Shubia. It was mainly a struggle to prove the worth of Persian language itself. That it's not the Arabic, it's the language of religion or something, and it's only that is worth having intellectual activity or is superior to Persian or something. So there were many things. Actually, there's one scholar, Professor Jib, he says that, well, it was, he also says it was not nationalism, rather it was a struggle to shape the overall orientation of the Islamic culture. So it should be only purely Persian, it should be whether purely Arabic or it should adopt or accommodate other elements also. So, and by the time, he also says that by the time these things happens, like the Samanids and Tahirids and these people come, by that time the issue was almost settled. There was no that much shobia. There was sporadic, you will find the writings about these things, but it was almost settled that the Islamic world, it had adopted Persian also as, or Persian culture also as part of, integral part of Islamic identity, at least cultural identity. So what could be the reason behind the Persian Renaissance if it was not nationalism? So if you look at the early usage of the Persian, then it would be easier to figure it out. What is that? So one use is like in poetry, and I said earlier that many would not consider it as very scholarly, very intellectual activities, very manly. For example, Tahirid, they would compose poetry, but they would not say that he composed it. It's funny, but so, and then you have official purposes like the administrative use of the language. Then you have for the religious propaganda. Poetry that flourished mainly because of the court patronage, and the court patronage, they would it would be mainly the panegyrics. They would come and eulogize the king. Okay, you are the Rustam of the time, and you are the Anushiwan Adil of the time. So this would be in the poetry. So and they cannot tell them that, well, you are the prophet of the time, right? You are the imam of the time. So that would be blasphemous. So this was the panegyric use of early phases. Later on, ghazal, the other things comes onto the scene. So that's not it. But initially it was panegyric. Then you also have the Shahnamas, the Book of Kings, and it really flourished during this time. And this really makes you think that why this? Why so much emphasis on Shahnama? Because Shahnama, it always talks about pre-Islamic time. It doesn't talk about Islam. So Shahnama, the interest in pre-Islamic time, it was not something that came suddenly. It was not something that was only in the form of Shahnama. Actually, there was earlier effort also to reconcile the Iranian mythology and Islamic prophetology. For example, Jamshid could be one of the prophets, and then there is like Faridun, or like you have all the pre-Islamic, like those mythological kings and emperors. They would be associated with somebody, reconciling that this would be this person, this prophet, this would be this prophet. Because there was huge Iranian population also. So this was a practical need actually to reconcile that. And they had also largely accepted Zoroastrianism as Zoroastrians as people of the book, Ahle Kitab. So if you accept them as Ahle Kitab, like those people who have like revealed book, and then you won't say that what is in the Avesta or something is false. It may be changed, but it cannot be completely false. So there was a need of this reconciliation also. Other thing is like the local population. That was also there, like the local population, their language was Dari. And it had spread to almost all over the places, like from Transoxiana to the western Iran, to the parts of Afghanistan, all these places. So the local language, the people who you are talking to, if you compose poem in Arabic, you will have to send maybe like several thousand miles away to be recited to the Arabs, and you won't do that. So the local population, who was your audience? So it was very much contextualized in the local need. The poetry was also not only in the court, it was also adopted by the Sufis, who did not have any connection with the courts. For example, you have Baba Tahir, who is one of the early Persian poets, and he was a mystic. So he used to recite, he was to talk about the love, friendship, and divinity, and all these things. He did not say the panegyrics. He did not praise the kings. Okay. You need to be a little faster. Then you have official purposes, like the local administrative purposes, like they had actually, to a large extent, it had not been replaced by Arabic, to a large extent, because the local dehkans, who had been left to deal with the local administration at lower level, they were Persians, many of them were Zoroastrians, and they maintained this heritage, pre-Islamic heritage. And it was these people and the local common people who started to putting down the Persian, what they used to talk, the oral, the thing into written form in Arabic script. So it was not something, there was no some pre-planned about these Tahirids or Samanids invention of new script or something. It was spontaneous by people. So and then gradually it was adopted by the state also. So it was very much the spontaneous rise of or tradition of writing the same language in Arabic script. Then there was religious purposes. At this time, you have like a lot of Ismaili Shiite activities in that region, and you can understand their influence was so much that some of even the ruling people, even one of the Samanid ruler, he had converted to Ismailism, and then it was not very much liked by people, and even his own commanders and all, they planned to kill him one day, and then his son came to know, and then finally he saved him. There is a long story about these things. So there was a strong presence of the Ismaili Shiites, and they were propagating. So there was a need of these Sunni Orthodox people to come up with a counter propaganda. And for that, you have many things going on. Like, for example, there was a Hanafi Orthodoxy treatise that very much expressly says why was it done, what was the need of that. It says that the Amir asked to do that, and the reason is that to the end that all, the common people also, might have a good knowledge of religion and keep themselves apart from innovation, because they could not read in Arabic. Okay, so all means the common people, they can read in Persian. If they just learn the script, they would be able to decipher it somehow. So it was the religious aspect of that. You have also like Tahirid and Saffarid. It says that I have translated this book in order that all princes and subjects alike may have access to it, so as to read it and know it. So all the princes were also not well versed in Arabic. Even the rulers, for example, Safarid, we saw that he was not educated. And actually it was, okay, I need to sum up, so I will just, what I was going to continue later. So why did he say that, well, you should recite in Persian, not in Arabic? He did not know Arabic. He was not educated. So if somebody praises you in a language, like if I praise you in Urdu or in Hindi, does it make sense? No. So why don't you say me something that I understand? That was the logic. So that is taken by the nationalist as one of the proofs that he was nationalist. So he could have some nationalist aspiration, but this was not only because of that. It's very doubtful. So all these works are like, they are utilitarian in nature, and this is Julia Scott Mason, she also emphasizes this point that it was very much utilitarian rather than having this nationalist aspiration. So, well, this is what it is. So the Persian Renaissance took place to meet the practical needs of the inhabitants. It was not something that was well planned like the Tahirids and the Samanids. They didn't have any intention to revive or something, especially for this reason. So this could be for like partly for legitimizing their rule. For example, the composition of Shahnama, because the local people would be more interested in the local mythology and all these things, because it has not completely died out. The Dekhans, as I said, they were already there. They had already these things stuck there. So there was some audience who were ready to receive this, and that everybody forging a lineage to go back to pre-Islamic time. This was also an attempt to legitimize their rule, because they could not do so. The Arabs, they could not say that I'm from Quraysh. One of them did. Tahirids did that. They said that we are Al-Khuzai because their ancestor Zuraki was actually client of one of the Arabs. He was from tribe of Al-Khuzai, so he says Al-Khuzai, and people ridiculed him, made fun of him. Even the tribe, Al-Khuzai tribes poets also, they also made fun of him. So it did not make sense to forge a lineage with the Arabs. So it was better to find somebody local. So it was more a quest for like seeking legitimacy rather than nationalism. Well, I guess that I'm beyond my time.
Questions?
Thank you. Questions?